Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Lipen, and I'm going to be playing the 4th US Armored Division with the balanced deployment type. I thought it was about time that I got back into making videos on Star Division 2, but not only that, the new divisions that came out with the tribute to Normandy 44 DLC. So I'm going to be having a look at the 4th US Armored for you guys today in this pretty fun game on Lipen. So let's just quickly go through what I've got down at the start. I've got a Command M8 on the right hand side to accompany my M18 Hellcat. We've got a M8 Scott following that up. We've got an M8 Recon leading the charge on the hill with a Bantam, 2 Armoured Rifle BAR, 2 M8 Scotts, a leader M8 heading into the tree line. We've also got an M15 CGMC AA unit, 4 units of engineers and an M1 gun, 2 M1A1 Rhinos coming up the rear. These are a bit slower because they have more armor, so they've got 120 mils of frontal armor. Their road speed is only 38 kilometers per hour, so they do fall behind at the start. As you can see though, we are already into combat, and my M18 Hellcat going to be engaging these Pumas with APCR. Unfortunately, a mistake on my part. Should have had the APCR turned off, because the APCR only has 4 damage, and therefore it takes at least 2 shots to kill the Puma. Whereas if I had the standard AP shell on, it would have only been 1, because Pumas only have 8 health, because their class is a light vehicle. And yeah, that ends up getting my Hellcat killed. So a little bit of a mistake on my part, and a good tip for you guys using APCR in future. If you ever have a unit that is using APCR, I generally like to turn it off before I know what I'm up against, because I think in most cases like having the AP fire is more than good enough, and then the APCR is just there for if you need that extra little bit of penetration. Say if that Hellcat came up against the Panther, then having the APCR on would have been a good idea, but since it was 2 Pumas, having the APCR off was a good idea. But I think generally you're going to come up against stuff that you won't need the APCR for first of all. So especially at like the start of the game, for example, turning off the APCR is probably the best course of action. Regardless, moving on, we have the engineers pushing through with their M1 Garands, trying to take out the SS Sturmgrenadier for us, as we are going to be up against the 1st SS today, in the hands of Valdis. The M8 here did manage to get 1 shot on target already, so we're hoping for a second. We do manage to find that, so another Puma going down. So we've managed to take out 2 Pumas. We did lose my Hellcat on the right hand side. I did also lose my M8 Scotts all over the place, and a half-track there. So we're not doing amazingly well, but at least we've managed to take this objective. So this objective is the one that we're primarily going to be contesting throughout this game on Lipen. It's our offensive objective. For Valdis, he would want to take the one that's in the tree line in order to get a +1 over over his opponents. So in this case, we have the advantage of position early on. I got Rosie the Rocketeer coming in. This is a unique unit for the 4th US Armoured. It comes with 6 bazookas and apparently is quite effective, but every time I've brought it in, even at the start of the game, it has fell to the same fate of AA forcing it back or shooting it straight out of the sky. Poor Rosie, not going to make a good showing in this one, as the 88 takes that out nice and easy. Biplanes in general very vulnerable to the 88 because they're so slow, and the 88 just gets so much damage on target. M4A1 Rhinos are creeping into position now though. The one on the right did take a sight damage due to the engagement from the Pack 40 over here, and also the Panther. But we're going to be moving up with some rifles and reinforcements. We've got another M18 Hellcat on the way. And yeah, M18 Hellcats, they're really nice. They're really, really good unit, and something that the 4th Armoured was really, really well known for in Star Division Normandy 44. It's what actually made them one of the best divisions in the game when they came out. And yeah, the main reason for that is just because of their speed. So they can pop in and out of cover very quickly, and if you use light cover with them, you can get some really, really good kills with them and trade up massively, because these are only 60 points. You kill like a Panther with them, for example, and you're trading up nicely. Rhino there actually managed to land a lovely shot onto the Panzer IV. We already killed one with our M1 gun, so we're starting to make up some of the kills that we lost early on. It looked like Valdez put a lot of points into the sort of town area. Maybe expected a dive into the town, because that is something that sometimes the red side in this case would do, but I didn't opt to go for that. I did bring up units here just to stop Valdez from doing the same to my forest, but yeah, the intention was not to, you know, fight over the town just yet. It was to secure the hill first of all. Anyway, these pioneers actually getting the better of my engineers. My engineers don't have machine guns, but engineers are pretty good at like the mid-range just due to their M1 Garands, so they can still do a decent amount of DPS. Obviously not when they're pinned down though, and this continuous mortar fire going to be forcing me to fall back my squads to avoid them taking more damage. Panzer IV here trying to sneak through. This was the one that was had already taken damage from coming up this road. I didn't know it at the time, but by getting that shot in, I realized that was the case. So, second Panzer IV going down, and the M8's come in here to give 50 cal support against the Pioneer. Now, Puma coming up, you'll see that the Puma can one-shot the Puma because it has that 8 damage I was talking about earlier, and the Puma only has 8 health. Now, I did end up losing the Rhino over here. I was trying to move it up to help support in this direction, but it got shot from the right-hand side. Rhino's taking advantage of the Puma being dead and the 2 Panzer IVs being dead, and is trying to run down this Pioneer unit that doesn't have any AT. So we're starting to get the better of that, but we are of course going to have to be careful of the Panther that we saw rolling up here, because that could easily just run up into the light cover here and engage my Rhino directly at close range, and the Rhino with only 90 penetration is going to have a hard time penetrating the Panther even at close range. You can see now I've invested into 2 M105s. These are M7 105s. These are the Priests. Priests are actually pretty good at closer ranges for singling out support weapons and also helping you deal with enemy armor that is maybe too difficult for your tanks to kill. Now, since I've only got 1 Hellcat left, and usually you want to like 2v1 with your Hellcats against something like a Panther, the 105 M7 Priests are pretty useful for helping deal with heavy armor, because even if you don't get a kill with the Priests, you can whittle down the health of an enemy tank and then just one-shot it with the APCR out of the Hellcat, which is really, really nice. And the other thing to note about the APCR is it does have more accuracy than your standard AP shell. And also the other thing to note on top of that, which is a really handy thing to pay attention to, especially if you're a newer player, is veterancy is like percentage based. So, you know, the higher base accuracy that you have, the more benefit you gain from veterancy. Anyway, M7 gonna be getting some good shots on target there, and you can hear by the lines that they say whether or not you're hitting the mark. Sometimes they'll even say that a unit is killed even if you can't see it, so do bear that in mind. My M4, unfortunately, one of these wrecks, there it is, got killed by a Panzerschreck. Nice choice by Valdez there to bring that in. Valdez here, a very decent opponent, knows what he's doing, and punishes my M4 being so far up without recon support, and also infantry support, my infantry support being too far behind in this case. A Bantam here, trying to just scout out on the right hand side, but the Alpha Panther D gonna peek out of cover to take care of that. My M7's still looking for the kill onto the Pak 40. So, are going to finally find a shot on target. Counter battery is coming in. I committed just long enough to get that kill. Now we're going to move out of the way. Now, armored rifles, pretty good with the Garand and the VAR, but I'm going to get overwhelmed, especially with the veterancy that's on top of those infantry, and my engineers here were coming along to assist, but unfortunately, caught out in the open, are going to go down very quickly indeed. 4 of their brothers down, and more will fall as they try to retreat from that location. Another Bantam of mine taken out. I potentially was a little bit wasteful of the Bantams in this game. The Bantams can be really, really useful because they're just a 10-point squad, but they're an armoured unit with a 50 cal, just like a half-track, basically, in terms of their potential effectiveness. And because they have recon, they can kind of spot enemy infantry, pin them down, and then in combination with something like an M8 command, or even like a half-track from the armoured rifles, you can get some really nice surrenders with them. Anyway, M1 gun managed to get a frontal penetration at close range against this Panther. Pretty low chance for me to do that. It was probably like 20-30%, but managed to find it after getting an initial side shot, and that killed off a tank there really quite nicely. So I think using the M7s in this division is a really, really important thing to do, and that's why I invested in them early on. You can also see that I'm investing in 2 81mm mortars as well. So considering this is an armoured division, it does still, I think, rely quite heavily on its artillery to be effective in Steel Division 2, just because the Hellcats aren't quite what they were in Steel Division Nominee 44. Like in Steel Division Nominee 44, the Hellcats were just unbeatable almost, but in this game they are a little easier to deal with because the scale is much larger, and therefore you have a lot more targets that can engage the Hellcat all at once. Whereas when it was in the smaller scale of Steel Division Nominee 44, the Hellcats were such a larger force modifier. Anyway, nice kill there. Unfortunately traded the M8, but we got the Panzer IV kill, so decent for me. M15, I'm actually moving forwards here to engage the Pioneer Führer, trying to get rid of that so that these Pioneers don't have veterancy. And all the while you can see that the M7s were hitting this area with artillery, so I forced Valdis to push forwards, and he has managed to push us off this flag for the time being, so a good job there. Panther G now trying to sneak forwards to get the shot onto my M15. I'm going to notice that, and we're going to, of course, reverse into cover before he can get his aim on target. So instead he's going to be engaging these rifles on the left-hand side. I'm going to be bringing up more armoured LMG rifles to help us out. Now these armoured LMG rifles, they are 8 M1 Garands with 2 30 cals, and they are going to be really useful for engaging these infantry at range. Like so far we've been using Pioneers to engage each other, so Valdis been using Pioneers, I've been using Engineers, and that's all well and good, but we haven't actually been engaging at like a close enough range for those to be effective with their HE bundle grenades. So now we're both starting to realize that and bring in units with MGs. So in this case, the Panzergrenz with the double MG42. In my case, the armored LMG rifles with the 30 cals. And the reason I brought in engineers initially was because I thought that we'd end up having an engagement in this heavy cover. And that's usually what happens on this map. Panther G, again, coming around the corner trying to get shots onto the M15, but we're going to be backing away from that in good time, and my M1 gun's hoping to get a shot on target, but the Panther moving out of line of sight. I'm also trying to get the Hellcat here to creep forwards and get a shot on target as well. So in this case the APCR is fine because it kind of guarantees a penetration, and then one more shot from something like an M1 gun will find the kill, because in this case a Panther, I think they have, actually I think they have 12 health. I'm not entirely sure now I think about it. Regardless, we're looking for the second shot there. The Hellcat lands the APCR on target. All I know is that a second shot from a standard AP round would finish the kill. So we're going forwards again here. M1 gun actually gets a shot onto the Panzer IV, but we managed to use the Hellcat to kill the Panther G. So that's all well and good. My armoured LMG rifles are getting their machine guns on target here, so we managed to pin down the IG-18, or IG-33, sorry, and we're doing quite a lot of damage. The armoured LMG rifles are killing off the Pioneers. So these armoured LMG rifles are actually coming in very, very handy right now, and we've got even more now arriving. Mortar fire is going to come in to help out over time. But of course, losing my armor along the way is not too helpful. So the M4 going down on the right hand side here. Do at least manage to get the M1 gun to finish off the Panzer IV. And we'll be trying to use that to take care of any of these half tracks as well, which is something that my armored LMG rifles can't deal with on their own. We're currently pushing 16 to 10. Yag's had a pretty good time in the middle of the map and has taken multiple flags here, and we're taking this one flag on the right, so that's counting towards that. It's actually giving us the double tick early on. But yeah, so far it's been a very attrition heavy battle, that's for sure. Got a couple of M18 Hellcats moving up so that they can ambush any vehicles that come up this road or this road. We can just like use this light cover to get the ambush shots on target. But the main thing at the moment, just make sure we finish off the enemy infantry so we can continue to contest this flag. So yeah, I'm well aware that the Tigers, they have 12 health, but I'm really not sure about the Panthers, so I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments exactly how much health they have. I'm not sure if they're technically classed as a medium tank. Anyway, enemy Nebelwerfers starting to show up, which is not ideal. Take out my AT gun there, nice and easy. But now time for the counterplay once again. So the reason I keep trying to push up to this light cover is because if we can get into this light cover, and I can put some AT guns in there, put some Hellcats in there, it will cover this reinforcing road. And so it'd be really difficult for Valdez to reinforce this position, let alone continue to attack the hill, unless he comes down this road from the town here. And you can see he is starting to move some of his resources from the town to attack up the slope from that direction. But at the moment I'm just going to be charging forwards with the M4A3s, and we're looking for the engagement with the enemy Panzer IV. Unfortunately going to be trading a shot there. I was hoping to just get the kill straight up, but we didn't manage to without taking damage. I'm fine taking like a Panzer IV kill though without losing an M4, that's absolutely fine. So it worked out okay in the end. But it's just the dodgy thing about taking a shot the first time is the second time round, if the Panzer IV gets an aim on target, then you're going to get hit again by the Panzer IV potentially when it dies, and then just trade, which you don't really want to do if you can help it. Instead though, another Nebelwerfer hits the mark and actually does quite a lot of damage as it kills off the M4 that was hit by the Panzer IV, and then the M4 that was left over is now really damaged as well. Takes a shot at the Panther D, and the Panther D ends up missing somehow. I'm trying to get that to reverse. The reason it wasn't moving is because it was turning to face its front armor, but alas, down it goes. What I should have done is just given it a move order so that it just continued to drive forwards regardless. Okay, Panther, you've got to try and take care of that. A classic transmission damage there for the Panther as we hit it with the APCR. One more APCR shot hits the mark with an armor crack and gets the job done. So once again we add more wrecks to this battle over the ridge, and yeah, both myself and Valdez trading blows throughout this one, and that's only going to continue as we move throughout this game. So my M7 priests, they're going to be set on to counter battery, I believe, and we're just going to be using them to try and identify where the enemy forces are at the backside. We've got the 81mm mortars continuing to harass enemy infantry as they come forwards, and I've still got the Hellcats in waiting, ready to pounce on any more Panthers that come our way. So I'm just making sure that I move the mortars after they fire every time. And in this case we're actually going to be targeting the half-tracks directly, because as I mentioned before, the armoured LMG rifles, especially at range, don't really have a way of dealing with the half-tracks. So we're just going to want to make sure that we take them out. M1 gun on the right, taken out easy peasy by the Griller that came up the hill. Did manage to get one shot on target, it's going to take two to kill a Griller. More armoured rifles on their way. So I've got two more M7s on the backside. You can see that I'm doubling down on bringing those priests in. They are very, very useful in situations like this, especially where your opponent is quite concentrated. I mean, artillery in general is really good for this sort of situation, because you can I can continuously hit this tree line with artillery fire, and we're almost always going to be hitting something there. And if there's nothing there, I'm going to be able to move in with my tanks and take that position for myself. And then Valdis has to worry about the entire ridge, while Stone only have to worry about, you know, this bridge here that he might want to try and come across. So Panther G going to be coming up, ends up killing off the Hellcat there. We at least managed to take out the Guila on the right hand side, and the mortar fire is getting close to hitting the Panther, but not quite. And now there's two Panthers hitting the mark, and we're just not able to get the shots on target. Now my Hellcat here going to try and have a go, but no luck so far. I end up moving because I thought that rocket strike was coming in for the M18 Hellcats. The other thing is, at this range, the M18's AP shell is not going to reliably penetrate the Panther. So I want to get into light cover, draw the Panthers in closer so that we can get shots on target. Meanwhile, try and get the armoured rifles of BAR here, which have an M1 bazooka, close enough to get the shots on. So it's kind of what we're hoping for at the moment, but I have ended up losing this flag again to Valdis as his next reinforcements arrive in quite large numbers. Hellcat there, missing the mark. Really, really sad for me. Just trying to let the Hellcat pick off some half-tracks at least. In this situation, just trying to move the M15 into a position that it can shoot the Pioneer without being shot by the Panther. And then over on this left side, my recon actually getting spotted and taken out. And this M15 ended up driving forwards because I gave it an attack order. And so that ended up dying as well. And we just lost a lot of stuff very quickly. And the only thing I have to really save myself is this Hellcat at the moment. And also the fact that my armoured rifles here have bazookas. So I'm kind of relying on Valdis to move his tank too close to the tree line without bringing in infantry support. And that's not something that Valdis is likely to do because he is an experienced player in this game. We at least managed to get the bazooka on target of the half-track, which was maybe a little bit of a mistake on my part, because if I'd kept it on return fire or something, I could have got the bazooka shot onto the Panther G instead. But now it's really coming down to the close range engagement against the Panzer Grenadiers coming in. So this is where Jagsaus comes in, and he saves the day with the P-47s. One of the P-47s hitting the mark there onto the Panther G. Bombing strike takes out the Panzer Grens. My Hellcat here looking to try and finish off the Panther G, but bouncing. Hellcat actually ends up going down. Jagd's P-47 does pay for that airstrike. And another one coming in to finish off the second Panther G. Definitely helpful. So two more Hellcats have arrived. I'm now going to be bringing in M4A 176s as well, because these are going to have a better time penetrating the Panthers at close range. And thanks to that airstrike, we have demolished the next push that came across the open here. Just look at it. Panthers, Shermans, everything just annihilated on this hill. My M4A 176 not able to trade effectively into the Panzer IVs, as he did manage to get all the Panzer IVs to drive through into this left-hand side. Now it's a chance for the Hellcats to pounce, but I'm going to be turning off their APCR shells first so they can get good, meaningful shots on target. This M475 also coming through as well, and here we go for the trade once again. My rifles here trying to retreat in time, but I don't manage to do it. At least I managed to get the kill onto the two Panzer IVs on the left. Second one goes down. Now we're going to be targeting all of this infantry that's coming in with these half-tracks. Since most of the armor's dealt with, the two Panther Gs died, the Panzer IVs we saw come around here are now gone. It's a good chance for my M3A1 half-tracks to move up and provide some 50 cal fire support. We're also going to take out another Panzer IV that came up the road there. And my M18s are having a bit of a turkey shoot against the half-tracks. Artillery also going to be falling on the heads of these infantry. And now looked like a great time for my M4A1s to come through and surrender lots of infantry. So here we go, the beauty of the 50 cal half track. This is prime American gameplay right here as we manage to surrender multiple units at once. My M3A1 does go down, but certainly got the damage done. So a nice little play there onto all of Valdez's infantry. Didn't pull them back in time and didn't have the tanks in position yet to cover to stop that from happening. So another Panzer IV falling, and thanks to Jagdsource's airstrike, we are slowly shooting them down like dominoes. The Tiger E here at range is engaging my M4A1. I'm going to try and take the opportunity to engage the Tiger from the ridge, but due to the attack move order that I gave, they stopped and started firing their 50 cals at the ME410s. That's another thing you might want to do actually with your Hellcats, is turn off the 50 cal until you actually need it, because they will reveal their location. We do at least manage to get the Tiger, but I'm going to lose both of my Hellcats here, which was really not a good trade. I'd already lost the M4A1 and this had taken a penetration, so me not really using my armor very well throughout this game, that's for sure. The armored rifles pushing forwards with those bazookas. Another nice thing about the Americans is a lot of their infantry is usually equipped with bazookas, and that can be extremely helpful for catching out your opponents. But the Panzer Pioneer here, not in range to throw its HE, so the armored rifle is going to make short work of those as well. And we're just going to rely on some artillery here to keep the pressure on the edge of that ridge, because I don't want to bump into like another Panzerschreck here for my M4. The armored rifle's only got 2 men left, so we're just trying to hold back the forces here and keep pressure over this flag while we wait for our reinforcements to arrive. So 3 M4A1s moving up. The one on the left is the damaged one that was engaging the Tigers. But now only 1 minute left on the clock. Jagd has managed to maintain his position in the center of the map. Taki's had a nice back and forth against Grim Guy here. And yeah, we've had a pretty fun game here with the 4th US. So utilizing these M7s throughout, really helping maintain pressure when my other frontline units were being killed off or thrown away, whichever way you want to put it. The rifles, I think the rifles late and the armored LMG rifles, really nice for those longer range engagements. And then you've still got the armored rifles of the VAR for the bazookas. So the infantry in this division is actually pretty good. The Rhinos at the start, really nice support, even though I didn't manage to get much use out of them. The Hellcats are fantastic in this division. You just got to make sure that you're not sacrificing them unnecessarily and making sure you manage them correctly. And I think that's another reason why the Hellcats aren't as effective in Steel Division 2, is because they're so micro-intensive, so you can't really like abuse them too much, because if you have like more than 2 or 3, you get into this position where you can't micro them all effectively. But after 28 minutes 24 seconds, the game is going to come to a close with one cheeky last kill there onto the Panzer IV. 2,585 kills to 2,345 losses. Valdez put up a fantastic fight over that ridge. Big thanks to Jagd with his aircraft coming in to save the day. But M4A1 Rhino, yeah, did well early on. I mean, it killed a Panzer IV, it killed a Puma. Like these sorts of units, especially like the Puma and light vehicles that the Germans like to use at the start, are really ineffective against the Rhino. So things like the 233s, and yeah, the Puma is a good example. Any of those sort of like lighter armored units, even like 231s and like 20mm vehicles that come in, Rhinos can just clean house whilst also providing good infantry fire support. Then the M1 guns actually were really handy in this. Getting those M1 guns into position early on was absolutely crucial to trade those Panzer IVs and also the Panthers throughout the game. The M105s M7 105s were really, really useful for cleaning out, the support weapons. Pack 40 on the right hand side could have been potentially a pain throughout the game, so I made sure to get rid of that. And then, of course, providing the pin onto all of that infantry, which allowed the big surrender from all of from my half track, basically. The mortar fire maybe not necessarily needed as much, but certainly allowed me to harass tanks and push Valdis out of position with those tanks. Like, it's really frustrating as an enemy player to have to dodge mortar fire, because it can whittle down your tanks and kill them over time. So you always have to move away from the mortar fire, and what that can often do is lead you into an AT trap, because you reverse away from where the mortar fire is coming in, and then it puts you in line of sight of an AT gun, and then you get shot. And that's basically what you're trying to do with that mortar fire. It's not necessarily directly kill the enemy target. If you do, that's great, but it's always to push them out of position and put them into line of sight of whatever tank or AT gun you've got set up to kill them. So yeah, that's always a nice thing to do in the multiplayer. Anyway, M4 75 here at the end, also doing pretty well, and trading Panzer IVs for M4s throughout the game is something that's absolutely fine. It's just it got to a point there where the double Panther G coming in with the 2 Panzer IV supports, I was making a lovely push back up onto that hill in order to try and take it back, but Jagdsource coming in with the rockets really just shut that down. So yeah, a fantastic game, I felt, and a great fun game to show off the 4th US. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.